We're live.
All right, we're live. And
Finally.
Live.
You call this living?
The reason we're late
We're
is
live
it's
now.
all Billy's fault. I told you, Billy, I was going to throw you under the bus.
Just went live now.
We are live.
We are.
It is
live.
all my
Okay.
fault. It's all my fault.
Where's the introduction? We're just live. We're up to
Julie
do
just
what?
came out and said, "Where's the show?"
Yeah.
It's Art's channel. He just goes live. There's no intro.
Screw around.
Well, you guys weren't going to stop, so I had to stop you by hitting the live button. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay, anyways, you guys, this is the Professionals. This is Thursday, and we're going to rock your socks off tonight with a great show. Yeah, usually I am running late. This time I ran a little early, and then Billy was late. So yeah,
It's true.
Well, I was in like 8:03. You're right.
yeah. Well, and this is career-defining moments, and I think Billy wanted to do career-destroying moments.
Yeah, we'll do career-defining moments. That's fine. That's fine. That should be a whole nother show, Art.
That'll be part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do a career-defining moments. So these will be the big moments in our careers that actually defined our careers. And I thought this would be fun to come up with 3 or 4 different moments through our evolution in this industry. I think we all have long enough careers, multi decades in this industry. So I think we have some moments that defined us. So we have everybody here today. We have Aaron Lopresti, we have Andy Smith, we have the teen sensation Billy Tucci, we have Daniel Fraga. Daniel, my brother, you are younger than I. And last but not least, we have Graham Nolan, Nature Boy, as we're going to call him for this live stream. So how's everybody been?
Doing good.
Fabulous.
Hanging.
Rocking and rolling.
Fabuloso.
Yeah, so if you guys, we were just talking off air, Billy did a Pop, was it Pop X?
Pop XP.
You're only on our show like 5 times, Art, but yeah, it's a Pop
Yeah,
XP.
Pop XP. I just know the pop part. Yeah, I always want to say EX, but you had Sarah Frazetta on, and that, man, I tell you, it was very captivating, and I think it's just because she was very sincere and very real.
Yeah.
And talking about one of my favorite artists. And Dan, you brought it, man. You had all the questions, and you have the Frazetta knowledge. Boy.
Yeah, he did, and he brought up the thing, and not quite, but we'll get into it next time, Sean. But about how the family was fractured, after the passing of Frank and Ellie, and Sarah is the one that actually brought them all back together and turned this into a great business for all of them, all the children, all 4 of his children.
Yeah, she plays down.
Peacemaker.
Yeah, she plays down how good she is too, but she's really good.
Yeah.
Now this is a dumb question, but she's a granddaughter, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a funny thing. I saw her come up on that show, and I was like, she is way too young to be Frazetta's daughter. And Frazetta's daughter,
she's Holly's kid.
a
Yeah,
daughter,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Gosh, that's his granddaughter.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's smart kid, I mean, she's got, she's a great guest. What a great guest she was.
Yeah.
There's so much information, and it was fun hearing the stories and how her and her sisters love me. And that was the best part.
Yeah, of course.
Yo, we should say hi to some of the folks in the chat. I see
Yeah, man.
Dino and Passmaster and Bob Gable and Shadowhawk, Hyper Kaiju, Brian Kriskow,
That's right.
Eric Hammond.
Bob was here like 20 minutes ago.
Hey man, when there's good content on, you're ready. You're rearing,
That's right.
chomping at the bit. We appreciate it.
Yeah, so thank you, Bob, already for the $4.99, and you're very much welcome, man. We're going to have a great show tonight, and we're going to lead with Aaron. So what I was thinking is we'll have 3 or 4, but maybe we'll just do one at a time, and then we'll just kind of keep rotating around. And I think we have Aaron for 40 minutes, and then he's got a hard out, but he's going to try to come back a little layer. So, Aaron, what would be like one of your big defining moments in this industry?
Well, this is a story I've told before, but when you talk about, to me, when you say career-defining moments, I guess there's 2 ways you can go. One, you worked on a project that catapulted you to stardom, right? Which I'm still waiting for that project. And then there's whatever sort of event happened that changed the course of your career, right? And that's what I'm going to go with, because I was struggling to get any sort of acknowledgement or work. And I had finally got to a point where I was doing humor stuff for Marvel, right, in their What the Book, right? And I was working in a commercial art studio in Portland at the same time and kind of doing these What the stories on the side as I could get them. And but I couldn't break through. Everybody kind of started looking at me as a humor artist, and actually not that good of a humor artist. So I'd make trips back to New York every 6 months, right? And hit the offices of Marvel in DC with new samples and trying to stick. And I was when I started doing the What the stuff, Renee Witterstatter was my editor, and she offered to put me up. She said, well, because I had no money, right? And I was like, so she said, yeah, I can put you up and I'll take you into the offices and blah, blah, blah. So I go in there, and she's, as you know, she's really tight with Michael Golden, and she even was back then. And we're talking like early 90s, right? So like 91, maybe 90, 92, somewhere in that neighborhood. Well, I wasn't married yet, so it had to have been 91. So I go, and Golden was the art director at DC at the time. Okay. So I remember I was at the offices in Marvel, and I don't know, Andy, you probably remember this because this is about the time you were starting, that they had the extra offices downstairs. There was like 3 or 4 offices down there. And I think they were doing, Marvel Boy or whatever. What was he called when you worked on him?
Quasar.
Yeah, they were doing Quasar. The guy who was doing Quasar was like in the office over here, and Renee was in this office, and we were downstairs. And
yeah,
Golden shows up to pick her up after work, right? And I had never met him, of course, and I remember the first thing I said to him was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a big fan. And he goes, of what?
Classic.
So I'm trying to rack my brain. Okay, what did Michael Golden do that I really liked that I could, Thankfully, Renee stepped in because he was kind of being an ass. And Renee stepped in and said, Mike hit him and said, quit being an ass or something like that. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I had a rough day and all that kind of stuff. Nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we hung out together, and I think he thought maybe I was putting the moves on Renee or something. So he was around like all the time, like keeping an eye on me, right? And so as a result, I got to know him really well and started talking to him. And I finally got around to showing him my samples and stuff. And he was, for the first time in my life, was able to. And Dan Fraga talked me into doing a video about this, which I did. I posted on my YouTube channel.
Where's the dog? He went away.
Pumpkin was up licking my shoulder.
Wanted to puff on that cigar, man. So anyway, I have posted a video called "What I Learned from Michael Golden," but during this, I don't know, I was there 4 or 5 days, and he broke down my work and said, basically told me why I sucked, right? And I could understand. He was making it clear to me what my issues were, right, and how to fix them, which no one had ever done before. They just go, your anatomy sucked, or whatever they tell you, but it didn't really mean anything because you're like, well, how do I apply that? And he presented it in a way that I understood, right? And so I was able to get out of this cloud of ignorance. And so that weekend, or I think I came like midweek and was going to stay till Monday or Tuesday. I might have stayed a whole week. I can't remember, but Renee had a little tiny drafting table underneath. She had like these bunk beds out in the living room, sleeping room area. You know what I mean? It was like, how those apartments are small in New York, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like a little box. And so her and Golden were off doing something and I spent 2 days just holed up in her apartment doing new sample pages. So I did these 3 sample pages of basically it was Wolverine and the Hulk in this kind of scenario where Wolverine is being held captive and the Hulk comes in and busts him out. But you could just tell by these samples, the dynamics that I was drawing in were completely different than my original samples that I came to town with. Everything was different, and it was way better. And so she takes me in Monday after I get these 3 pages done to Danny Fingeroth's office. I show him the pages, hires me to start doing Spider-Man backup stories. And there was some bumpy roads after that where, I felt the pressure from working at Marvel for the first time. I was just on superhero stuff. I was scared to death to make a mistake. And so that's all I did was make mistakes. And so I got canned. And then I said, Danny, here, give me another shot. And I did some more samples, sent them into Danny. Go, yeah, these are better, you know. And then he hired me again. And but
that was the great thing about Marvel in the day, is that there were people that would help you. They would see that you had promise, that you had potential, because actually Carl Potts and Walter Simonson did similar stuff, you know, for me to try to get the work up to a professional standard. So this is good to hear, because this doesn't happen anymore.
no.
You know what I mean, like, you have to come in and you have to knock it out of the park, or else you just aren't going to work.
Well, because you've got 20-something editors that they can't see potential or anything. They just see the finished work, and either they like it or they don't, and that's as far as it gets. But yeah, Golden changed my life. I mean, he really did. I mean, you know, and we stayed good friends over the years. But yeah, it was the advice that he was willing to give me, and he actually even showed me, like, he was working on that string of Detective Comics covers.
Mhm.
You know, that one where Batman's getting electrocuted and they're fighting. So he had 3 of them he was working on in different stages, and he'd like pulled them out of his, you know, portfolio and showed them to me and talked about what he was doing and why he did it and things like that. And it was just, you know, it totally changed the trajectory of my career.
Yeah,
So
I forgot about this, Aaron. Now that you're talking about Golden, I have a cover that I inked that was never published, that I inked over Michael Golden.
No kidding.
No way.
Yeah.
So what?
Oh, you should share that. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, dude.
I'll find it. I can't do it tonight because I got a stack of stuff out there. But yeah, I think it was a Gambit cover. I think it was a miniseries or something that they had proposed, and so I inked it up, but it was never published.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And Renee and he are still tight. Are they?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Are they with each other? Is this a?
That's one of those great comic book mysteries. But she does rep him along with like Zach and a few other guys that she puts appearances for them together and stuff.
Yeah,
And
she's
she
Yeah.
reps Graham too.
Oh, she does that for Graham too.
Yep.
And didn't she used to represent Arthur Sudam or Soydam?
Yeah, still
As
does.
well?
Still
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Andy. So top that. Top
I
Aaron.
can't.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Andy.
Show's over. Show's over.
Show's over. I mean,
Aaron wins.
when you brought this up earlier today, and I joked in our chat like, oh my God, I got to think of something now and rack my brain.
How about your
I
first
mean-
sale, Andy? That's got to be a big thing. The first
Or-
professional sale you made?
Or you
Yeah,
can
I mean, the first
meeting people, like people that change your life, people that influence you. Like, I mean, it could be anything.
No, I know. What I'm going to go with is, so, you know, I started my professional career at DC, and then from there I went to Marvel, and I'd say my first monthly book, just because it's, I guess some guys started in the business and, you know, on a monthly book. I didn't. I started doing Justice League Quarterly. That was an anthology book, so I did like an 8-page story in that for 5 or 6 issues. I did the Green Lantern Annual #1, but my first monthly book was Quasar at Marvel, and Jim Sanders, who was an inker at the time, back in the day, was I was sharing a studio with him and John Beatty in Florida, and I wanted to try to get my foot in at Marvel, and Jim was working at Marvel, inking. I can't remember what he was working. He worked on a lot of stuff over there. But anyhow, so he showed my stuff to Mike Rockowitz, who was the editor at Marvel. And Mike's like, yeah, this stuff's really good. You know, what's he doing? What's he up to? And basically we just got on the phone. I think I flew up there to actually meet in person and stuff. Just, you know, it's this is before the internet and stuff. So you want that face-to-face contact. And Mike actually offered me first a Doctor Strange annual, which I did.
Yeah.
And it was inked by Alfredo Acala, but it never came out.
Ah, bummer.
Never came out. So the funny thing is, my first professional job for DC never came out. It was an issue of Suicide Squad. And my first professional job for Marvel never came out, and it was the Doctor Strange annual inked by Akala.
Do you have copies?
Do you
of
have
those?
copies? Yeah.
I have my set of the originals still.
Wow.
See, you
So-
should kind of see that too. That'd be
You know,
interesting.
that's an idea for a show, because I have a story that was it was Lynn Wein wrote and Dick Giordano inked my pencils. So I'm sure we all have like some kind of story of issue that never was published. It never came
And
out.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if the whole Doctor
show.
I can't remember if the whole Doctor Strange thing was drawn. Like, I don't know if it wasn't printed because something happened and they pulled the plug when I was halfway through or something. Because I just don't recall drawing the whole 20-some page story, whatever it was. But I have some of the Akala. Like I said, I have my cut of the originals.
That'd be great.
So then from there he offered me Quasar. So that was my first monthly gig, and Mark Grunwald was the writer. And Mark he was such a nice guy. I'm so glad I got to meet him because, he passed away in '96, I believe.
Way too young. He was only 43.
Yeah, exactly. And well, he basically woke up, and his wife was like, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" And he had a heart attack.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and he was a guy that was in shape. He ran all this stuff. So anyhow,
genetics are a bitch, man.
Yeah. So, but this is 5 years before he passed away, 4 or 5 years before. But he was such a nice guy. We talked a lot. I remember going out to lunch with him and stuff. He worked plot style, which was really cool. So that's when Marvel was they hadn't fully transitioned over to full script. So I was working plot style, and I can't remember, just going back to Doctor Strange real quick, I cannot remember for the life of me who wrote it, but luckily the lettering was done on the original. So if I could find those originals, I can see who wrote it. But yeah, Grunwald wrote plot style. I think we did 10 or 11 issues together. He was always really, for being my first monthly book, he was very easy to work with. And Mark knew his stuff inside and out when it came to writing. And he even, in the 80s, I think he drew a miniseries did he draw the Hawkeye? He might have drawn the Hawkeye miniseries. Can't exactly remember. But anyhow, so I'd say that was just a big one for me, is getting to work with somebody like Mark.
Well, it always when you're starting off and you don't really know exactly what you're doing, and you're working with a very experienced writer, it can make it it makes it a lot easier for you, because they pretty much write it exactly the way you would draw it. Even though there's no dialogue, it's all plot. But like the shots all work and they all line up in succession. I think that's a great team up, and he's a great guy, man. He
was so nice.
Yeah. So how about you, Billy? What do you got for us? What's your big breakthrough moments? Billy?
You're muted, Billy.
Your mic's off, buddy.
I muted myself because we have this old-fashioned fire alarm over here for some reason. It's like an air raid siren, and it goes off, and I forgot to do that.
Dude, aren't you one of the grandfathers of live streaming? How can you be so technically non-proficient?
Especially when you got Aaron up there ragging you.
And this is Aaron.
So,
well, speaking of Aaron, unlike you guys, nobody would hire me. I think it might have been Mark Greenwald who called me the ersatz Aaron Lopresti.
Oh, well.
And, I was like a poor man's Aaron Lopresti, wouldn't hire me.
In fact, Bernie Wrightson called you, what's his name?
Yeah. Bernie Wrightson
Billy was close friends with Frank Frazetta, so he made up for it in time.
Yeah. They're like, hey, aren't you the guy with
I was hoping to hear if Aaron pissed Frazetta off at some point in his career.
I was too scared to go up, and when he was at San Diego that one time, I was going. I mean, I looked at his art, but I was like, "What do I say to him?" Well, I love your stuff. I never did.
I think I hugged him.
Yeah,
I'm like, I gotta hug you. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, you want a great and that was it. Then we became like peas and carrots. But anyway, so I couldn't get work anywhere. I guess my big break was almost like a self break. It was a moment of self empowerment. I went to the San Diego Comic-Con in 1993 to work. I was designing T-shirts. I had no money. Basically all my savings, I saved it for a plane ticket and flew out to San Diego. I think my buddy lived up in Los Angeles, so we drove down for one day, and I met with all the editors and stuff, and nobody would hire me. One of them, one asshole, I could tell you his name, embarrassed me. He had found another artist that he said would be his ticket because he wanted this other artist to do his backgrounds for him. And he's like, this guy's gonna do my backgrounds. This guy's my ticket. He's an older gentleman who was an artist, but had these beautiful backgrounds. And anyway, when he got to me,
who's the editor? Name.
I don't know if he was. His name was Carl Allstatter. He was from Harris.
Oh
No, it's not Carl Allstetter. That's the artist, Carl Allstetter.
Yeah, he was an artist, but he was like the art director type or whatever.
No way.
Yeah, and I wanted to choke him. I wanted to choke him to death.
Well, Carl ghosted for Jim Lee.
Yeah, and Carl was a
well, he was a dickhead. San Diego Comic-Con 1993.
That's amazing.
The Professionals is all about truth.
That's
all
right.
Yeah,
no
Let's
punching.
hear it.
So basically, my big break came when you hit all the big ones. For all those who you go out there with your portfolio, you wait on the lines for an hour or two to finally meet this Marvel or DC editor, Image Comics.
Yeah.
I probably went to one of the Image studios. Nobody would hire me. But then I was walking around Artist Alley and I saw this crazy skinny guy, real animated, sitting at a 6-foot table with a black guy and another kid looked like he was 12 years old. And it was Brian Pulido. And it was Brian Pulido with his Evil Ernie comics, and he had Stephen Hughes next to him and Jason Jensen, the colorist. And I went up to him and I just started talking to Brian Pulido, and he treated me like a fellow artisan, like a fellow pro, even though I wasn't. And he was a self-publisher. And we just hit it off. He's from New Jersey. I'm from New York. We just started BSing. And he just showed me such grace and such respect. And it basically came down to, he's like, why are you wasting your time with them? Because I had my portfolio was my first 12 pages of She.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm like, this is my story I'm working on, sort of thing. And he said, he's like, why don't you do your own comic? He goes, this is better than half the stuff I see them putting out. Make your own book. Look at me. I'm nobody special. I'm making my own comic. I got my next one, Lady Death, coming out next year. It's going to be big. I don't know if he said Lady Death, but he said I have my next book coming out next year. This is my Evil Ernie comics. And I got on that train. I was crestfallen that, from being rejected by everybody. And I got on the plane going back up to New York. And I just remember I'm sitting there and I'm all upset. And I just went to the little storage up there and I pulled my portfolio out because you wouldn't check it,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there and I just start going through those pages in my seat. And there was some woman next to me like, oh, you do that? That's really good, And I'm like, yeah. I said, it's a comic book I'm making. And that was it. And it just basically gave me the fortitude to try to make my own comic. And wouldn't you know it, if I can share the screen, let me try it. Are you ready, Art?
Yes, let's do this.
Let's do this. Let's light this candle.
Just remember, if Aaron can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
I don't see it yet.
That's the bar that we all.
That's right.
This is a tough professionals today, ain't it? All right, hang on. I have a lot more.
This is becoming a roast
Boom.
stream. Yeah. Boom. Oh, there it is.
Let me move it over. And it's so many monitors and stuff. But then that led to that.
So this
There it is.
was the big defining moment, man.
This was the big defining moment. And basically, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. This is a pirated copy somewhere on View Comic Online. I think it's my whole first issue. Yeah, it's my whole first issue. And, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I decided to make my own comic. I had some friends help me out. I did her in the nude on the first page. Everybody was all
you did.
I didn't care. No F's were given on Tucci's part. And, I basically
you didn't have to look for approval, man. You could
the Comic Code Authority called me and actually bullied me, trying to get me to pay $750.
Wow. No way.
Yeah, to get the Comics Code Authority. So I'm like, oh, okay. I said, I don't have that money. I don't have $750, but so they're like, well, if you want them in shops and in newsstands and all this stuff. So she starts talking, And then I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, I'm like, well, why do I need this? You know, like, well, you know, oh, Marvel uses it, DC Comics uses it, everyone, Dark Horse, all these companies use it, blah, blah, blah. And if you want to get a newsstands, I'm like, well, I'm not going to newsstands. I'm going in the main street. Yeah, I'm going in comic shops.
That sounds like the mafia, man. It's
yeah, so I'm like, basically, I said, be honest with me. So I really don't need you to do I don't need to have the Comics Code Authority stamp on my comic if I'm going to put this in comic shops. So I was like, no, not really. I'm like, okay, thank you. Click. Fuck you.
Yeah, no doubt. That's ridiculous.
And then, you know, I basically, this book came out and boom, you know, we ended up selling, I had the whole story of how it got made. It was a nightmare of, I had these business partners and they tried to screw me over. And my wife, who was just my girlfriend at the time, her aunt worked for this big lawyer in Manhattan. And he helped broker this deal for me that I was able to retain the rights to my character. Thank you for that. And
you could really see your fashion illustration influence.
Oh
in that first issue a lot.
Yeah, well, that's what they would, so, and then, we had pre-orders for 37,000 copies, and get to another career-defining moment, if I may, for this, is I was at the color separators who were on Long Island, and I just kind of looked up in the phone book or asked who gets their color separations from, or I saw a Valiant comic, and it had this place called Comic Color on Long Island. I'm like, wow, I'm on Long Island. That's not far from me. So I didn't have a car, borrowed my mother's car, drove over there, and I'm sitting, I had my pages to show them that this is my whole book, and how do I do this? And Fred Pierce from Valiant was there because they did all the color separation for that. And Fred thought I had something, liked me. And Fred said, you know what? Do it for this guy. I'll back this guy up. And then he said, who's your printer? And I said, I don't have a printer, but I have 37,000 orders. He goes, you know what? He got on the phone, used the phone in their office, called up Sparta Printing in Sparta, Illinois.
Right.
I'm backing this kid. He's got 37,000 orders. I'm putting my name on this. He will pay you. He will be the first people to pay you. They will, right, Billy? I'm like, oh, yes, sir. And they printed my book on spec. Comic Color did my color separations on spec. And we shipped those 37,000 copies. They hit, and within 3 weeks of that, we had reorders for over 140,000 copies.
Wow!
And I'm like,
wow!
That I said, you got to stop.
That's amazing.
And then what I did something smart. If I may, I'm going on.
Yeah.
But I knew in my heart that this comic was going to be big. No one, and it was just me. It was just my moxie. I just felt it was something special, something different. Like, this is before Lady Death came out, because Lady Death came out the month before. And because then my book, because Lady Death was hot, I guess they didn't want to miss out on another, and then they coined it Bad Girls, another hot indie comic. And I didn't solicit my second issue until the first issue was on the stands. So instead of soliciting for March, issue number 1 was March 1994. I solicited issue number 2, not in April 1994, but June.
So you could see all the sell-through.
Yep. So when that book hit and blew out, my pre-orders for She Way Warrior number 2 were 80,000 copies.
Oh my gosh!
It just kept going up.
Yes, that is amazing.
And now I can rock.
Yeah. So what do you got?
Sure.
Well, I'm going to start at the very beginning. And it's kind of been my nature to always be very curious about the industry, the inner workings. I'm kind of a super fan, and being a super fan is really what led me to breaking into comics. I got two pieces of evidence to show you. This first one was a fanzine that I did back in 1989, where we did.
You used Fraga Boom back then too.
Oh no! Fraga Boom was my This is an old website, okay. But this is a fanzine. I did this in '89, where I interviewed Carl Potts.
Nice.
And I was just a 15-year-old kid. And
did you call him up or something? What'd you do?
Well, my buddy Fred Jackson went to Silkscreen class, and Carl was another guy that was in the class with him, who was learning Silkscreen. So they were buddies. They bonded over comics and stuff. So he he told me, I got this buddy that works up at Marvel named Carl Potts. And I'm like, you know Carl Potts? He's like, yeah. And so he reached out to Carl. Carl said yes. Steve Saffel over at Marvel gave us this stat to use for the cover. So I did a whole interview on how to break into comics. Cool. This was really, really a lot of fun. It was instrumental in my understanding of how to break into comics and what it took to get into the business, stay in the business. Of course, we had, our own art. This was something my friend Mike drew and I inked. And then this was one of my characters that I drew. And check out this ad.
Slow it down, dude. Those are great.
Sorry, this is 1990 Jim Lee.
Yeah.
This is Jim Lee doing an ad for Flying Colors. Flying Colors, of course, are the folks, Joe Fields, the creator of Free Comic Book Day. I had the pleasure of shopping in this shop. So yeah, I'll give you guys the link to
tap out. I'll be back in like 20 minutes. All right.
Cool.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks.
So then what that led to was I did a TV show. Let me grab that real quick. Here it is. So let me back this up. Hopefully it'll play.
Toby.
Is Toby smoking a fat spliff right there?
No, that's not Toby. That's Dennis Cowan.
Dennis Cowan.
Dennis Cowan?
That's what I said.
Oh,
I thought that was.
oh my God.
Bro, you look like a young Rob Liefeld there. You could be like his kid brother.
So this it was an interview that I had with Sam Hamm, the guy who wrote Batman. And that's Dennis Cowan. And this was a month before the Batman movie had come out. So I kind of got this scoop, of interviewing the guy who wrote the new Batman movie. So from this interview, I was able to get access to a lot of shows, a lot of comic book shows where I would just say I'm press. And sometimes I'd give them videotapes so they would go, okay, this kid's legit, So my buddy Fred, again, the guy who hooked me up with Carl Potts, took my buddy Mike and I over to a place called Pelican, and I was doing an episode on portfolio reviews. So I put together a portfolio, and I wanted to show my portfolio and have it on camera. So, and this was an episode on what it's like to have your portfolio review. This is way pre-YouTube. This is November 19th, 1989. You want to talk about a guy that is good with dates, this guy. So
glorious.
Pelican, San Francisco, November 19th, 1989. Guests were Derek Robertson, Eric Larson, Art Adams, and Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld, I'd never met before. He wasn't Rob Liefeld yet. He had done a couple of annuals, a Spider-Man annual, a New Mutants annual, Hawk and Dove. And had just had What If #7 come out, which was inked by Scott Williams. A beautiful job. And I ended up having him do the portfolio review because I thought, hey, I like this guy's stuff. I'm going to have him do a review. He did the coolest, most astute, hand-tailored, custom-tailored portfolio review. I had my stuff reviewed by guys over at Marvel, DeFalco, Grunwald, guys at DC, Neil Posner, Brian Augustin. And no offense to these guys, and like you said, Andy, we waited in line for hours with our portfolios, and we'd listen to what the guy in front of us was told and all this stuff. But I used to think, like, these guys are like glorified tape recorders. Work on your anatomy, draw from life. Work on your anatomy, draw from life. Next. But Rob was actually like pretty spot on. He'd go, hey, your anatomy's not bad. I can tell you're a McFarlane fan. If you like McFarlane, you might like Michael Golden. If you want to improve your dynamics, there's Jack Kirby. Like, he was really spot on and informative. Now, here's where my long story comes to sort of an end, but the beginning. One of my best friends, Mike Gomez, still a good buddy of mine, he bought a sketch from Rob. Rob had drawn a bunch of character designs because he had just started working on this New Mutants. He had just got the job, and he had done a bunch of designs. I remember seeing his Cable designs. I remember seeing a bunch of his other stuff. My buddy bought this one design that was really awesome because the guy had like big blades for a mask and spikes. And when you're like 16 years old, this is fucking awesome. And nobody looked like that, you know? So my buddy buys this this sketch, and as we're going home, my pal goes, "Dude, he drew this on his personal stationery. On the back side of it said Rob Liefeld, blah blah blah, Whittier Boulevard, Whittier, California, telephone number, fax number." And I was like, "Dude, do you mind if I like copy that info down?" He's like, "Nah." So I copied it down and I called Rob.
So was that his house, or did he have a studio or something?
It was his studio. It must have been his studio, but I straight up called him. And I said, "Hey, man, this is Dan Fraga. I'm the guy that was filming you doing the portfolio review. And, you know, thank you so much for that. I noticed you have a fax number." He's like, "Who? What? How did you get this number?" I said, "You saw my buddy a picture of somebody called Strife or Striffy, or I didn't know what he was called. It was Strife." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, it was on your stationery." He's like, "Oh my God." I said, "Listen, man, I know this is crazy." I said, "But I really like what you had to say, and I'm wondering if I could send you my stuff over fax, and you kind of can tell me if I'm going in the right direction." And he said, yeah. He was kind enough and said, yeah. And I would call him maybe once every 2 weeks and get an earful of comic book gossip of the times, you know, 89, 90, 91. I'd get Jim Lee stories, McFarlane stories, Marvel stories. And then one day he said he was San Diego 91. He said he was going to start up a company. And it was the first sort of inkling of Image Comics. And then in late November, early December 91, he said, "I'm starting a studio and I want you to join the studio."
Wow.
And that's how I got hired. That's how I got hired to do that. I moved from the Bay Area down to Anaheim and started my first book, Blood Strike. And then the rest was, as they say, history.
Rub That Blood. Yeah, that was a big book, man. That was a big book for the studio. Everybody was excited about that. Yeah.
How about you, Big Art?
Well, I'm gonna do Graham first before it gets dark there. What's gonna happen, Graham, when the sun starts going down?
I'm lit. I got a light right there.
Okay, I hear birds every once in a while. I'm like, wow, this is very calming, and I think it's coming from your mic. Yeah.
It could be.
Graham, what are you smoking, by the way? What are you smoking?
I'm smoking a hand-rolled Los Martinez.
Ooh.
Yes,
Well
very nice.
played.
Very nice.
Well played, brother.
All right. Well, what was
first
your
off,
big breakthrough? What was your big breakthrough?
First off, I got to take this moment to do a little pimping because you brought up Dennis Cowens, who is going to be my next guest.
Hell yeah.
The Storytellers on Wednesday.
That's my dude, man. I'm going to be all up in your chat.
Dennis Cowan.
I love Dennis.
Smoking and you'll be smoking your stogie.
Dennis is the man. I love that man so much.
He's down in Hawaii. So
what's he doing in Hawaii right now?
I don't know. He didn't tell me. But
okay, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, trippy.
Yeah.
He's eating pineapple.
What do you need a reason to go to Hawaii for?
That's true. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know?
Just go.
If you got to ask,
go.
don't get it.
Yeah. All right. So, for me, I've always felt that this business is, we all stand on the shoulders of giants. And for me, I think the biggest thing was going to the Kubert School and meeting Joe Kubert. And as a result of going to the Kubert School, learning the business of comics, learning the history of comics, and also making relationships with my teachers and my storytelling teacher, Sal Amendola, who also taught at the School of Visual Arts and was also the editor, the new talent coordinator at DC Comics. So he actually bought 2 of my class assignments for his book for New Talent Showcase. And that was the first sale that I ever made. And Sal sort of mentored me up at DC. You know, he took me under his wing, and he had me come in every Thursday and bring my stuff, and he would show me around, and he'd introduce me to other editors, you know, even though he had bought 2 of my projects. That's how I got into the business. You know, that's how I started making connections. It's how I met Dick Giordano. It's how I met Julie Schwartz. Yeah, and that's an interesting story because Sal brings me into Julie's office one day and introduced me to him. He says, and Sal was a little Italian guy, and he had a very high-pitched voice. Heck of a nice guy. And he goes, "Hey, Julie, you know, I want you to meet, you know, Graham Nolan. You know, he does a really good Superman."
Yeah.
And then he leaves. And I was sitting down there in front of Julie Schwartz, and he's doing busy work at his table, and he finally looks up at me like freaking Perry White, and he goes, "So what makes you think you can do Superman better than Kurt Swan?"
Oh, shit.
And I said, well, I can't. Then why are you wasting my time?
Oh, fuck.
Kurt Swan's a punk.
Wow.
Yep. I sort of like.
All right, so how is this a good story?
Well, I didn't say it was a good story. I mean, it's a good story because all of these things are learnings, are learning material. I was not beaten down by it because obviously I wasn't as good as Kurt Swan at that time, you know.
Who is?
So I wasn't. Yeah, I mean, who could draw Superman better than Kurt Swan?
Right.
So, you know, I didn't take it bad. I gathered up my shit and I walked out of the office. But, you know, it was all a learning experience. And that's how I got my foot into DC Comics. And eventually, you know, I went over to Marvel and I got my first job over there, which was a Transformers comic for Mike Carlin. And that was pretty cool instance, too, because that was supposed to be an inventory story. And a couple months later, they ran out of script and they published the book. And Julie and I had met and we got married within 6 months after meeting. And I used all the money I had to set up our apartment and everything. And then the tax bill comes. And because I hadn't taken, you know, as freelancers, you got to take out 30% of every check, you know, to cover your taxes. And I didn't do that. And now the tax bill comes and it's like $4,000 something. This is 1985.
Oh yeah.
And we're just married. And I'm like, holy shit, you know, this is how we're starting. We're behind the 8 ball. The mail comes that day, and there's like a $5,600 royalty check for that transfer.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Then you got to pay taxes on that.
What's that?
Next year.
I said, and then you got to pay
that's
taxes
next
on
year.
that.
That's next year. I took the 30% out. I paid the last year, the previous year, and we were flush. So, you know, I got to thank the Transformers for that one.
Who inked you on it? Do you remember?
Yeah, Tom Morgan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Tom
And
Morgan
a lot
was
of
just
people-
starting out. He was a bullpen guy at Marvel at the time, so he got the assignment.
You know, here's an interesting piece of trivia for people. The very awesome, iconic cover of Classic X-Men #1, drawn by Arthur Adams, is often credited thanks to John Romita Sr. for the awesome layout.
Okay.
But in fact, it was Tom Morgan who did the layout to that cover.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When he was in the bullpen, Art mistakenly thought it was Romita, but it was Tom Morgan.
Tom Morgan
Yeah.
is an incredible artist.
Yeah.
He's so versatile. Have you seen his Facebook posts? You know, he's doing these Romita-style drawings.
Oh, that Spider-Man he just posted, the double spread.
There's a whole slew of them that he's posting.
Yeah.
And they're just amazing. He really captures that Silver Age feel of these
Yep.
artists. You know, he's really good.
Strangely, he was one of the first guys I remember his signature. Like he had a very stylized signature. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a turning point for me. Was how I broke into the business.
Very cool. Very
Nice.
cool. So the Kubert School kind of opened your eyes to a bigger world. That's pretty good.
It set me on a path. That's for sure.
Yeah, I always wanted to go to the Cuber school. I remember I sent a portfolio to them, and they accepted me, and I was like, yes. And then I realized how much money it was going to cost me, and then I had to move from California to go there, and I was like, I can't do this.
Hey, Art, I think Aaron might be back. I heard a boop.
Oh, Aaron? I think that's Graham's.
Could be my neighbor mowing the lawn.
No, it sounded like somebody had come into the green room. I heard doot. So,
well,
but there he is. There he is.
Aaron? He's
on.
on.
He'd pop his camera if he was
I'm going to be right back. I got to go close my shed doors.
Good Lord.
I think that's a euphemism. That's a euphemism for something.
I'll be right back.
Have Graham do it. He's outside.
Yeah.
Graham, go close Tucci's shed doors. We know your neighbors.
We're both in New York.
You guys live on the same property. Yeah.
How far away could you be? You're both in New York.
And Dino's
that's right. It's a small state.
What is this? Fraga heard of
Dino is not wrong.
Well, I heard of beef too, but I think it was Graham lighting his cigar.
Oh, it could be.
I think it was his lighter.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Dan heard the lighter and was like, "Yeah, light it up."
It's that time. Is it 420? What?
Is it 420?
Somewhere.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, my big break was at DC Comics, and it was I heard it was Graham. You were talking about Mike Carlin, that you worked with him over at Marvel.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So you remember Mike before the DC move? Was he different?
Yeah, he was skinny.
He was skinny.
Shit. Oh shit.
He was.
He wasn't big.
Oh no.
He was a tall, skinny guy, but I met him at Marvel.
He was a freaking giant the first time I met him. I was like, holy shit. He stood up from behind his desk and shook my hand. I was like, dude, you're a monster.
Hey, you know what's really cool is when I did go up there into his office there, they brought in those John Buscema pages inked by Tom Palmer when they were it was the Avengers, and it was when they were bringing back Phoenix. It was that story with the chrysalis thing that she was in. Yeah, and I saw those original pages come in while I was up there getting that assignment.
Wow.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing. And he's like, yeah, you want to see these? I'm like, yeah.
That was the best
John Buscema.
Yeah, that was the best part. I liked editors that like to share, So you go to the office and they'd open the drawer up and they bring out a stack of artwork and you could just look at it for hours,
Yep.
I remember one time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was in John Peterson's office and he just gives me a stack of, I think it was Kevin McGuire work or something like that on Justice League. And he had other meetings that, because he had a small office. So he ended up going, Art, you can keep looking at those, but you have to go out in the hallway. So I'm just sitting in the hallway at DC Comics with my back against the wall and just looking through all these Kevin McGuire pages. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
And I was sitting in Kevin Helfer's office one time, and there was Jack Kirby pages on his desk for when he was doing Superpowers.
Oh yeah.
One of the last things he did for DC.
Yeah.
Superpowers, was that the toy line? Is that what that was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't great. It was kind of sad to see the King's pages looking like that, but it was still kind of neat to.
That toy line was pretty state of the art for the time. I mean, those were pretty darn good toys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they sold
good.
Yeah.
They could punch. Yeah, they could punch and everything. You squeeze their legs. Yeah. And they could. Yeah.
Or if you squeeze Flash's arms, his legs would do this.
His legs would move. Yeah.
I thought you guys were talking about chicks.
No.
When you squeeze their arms, their legs move. I don't know any chicks like that, Billy.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. For me, it was Mike Carlin, and it was Adventures of Superman. So Mike, he calls me. I was working on Time Masters, and so he called
Time Masters.
Time, not Thigh Masters.
Oh, that's what Susan
Thigh
Summers.
Masters.
Suzanne Summers, Thigh Masters.
Thigh Masters.
I hear what I want to hear, I guess.
Yeah, Time Masters. And so, so he asked me, he says, would you like to work on Superman? Would you like to do finishes? He goes, I know you like to draw, and but I can't offer you pencil work, but I can offer you finishing work over Dan Jurgens. And I had no idea what finishing was at the time. And so I said, well, Mike, can I think about it? And then there was a big pause on the phone. And then he goes, what? And I said, yeah, can I call you back tomorrow? And he goes, no one's ever said they had to think about taking a Superman assignment before. And I said, well, I'll be the first then. And so that was always my stand. Like I always thought, like, you got to give yourself some time, and I didn't want to geek out or anything like that. So, I always, as a basic rule, I'd say, well, let me think about it. I'll call you back. Because I never wanted to say something, in the heat of the moment or something stupid. And so I call him back the next day, and I took the job, and he's like, yeah. He goes, what took you so long? Like Mike is like giving me crap always, even from the very beginning, right? So yeah, so that was like the big thing, is working on Adventures of Superman, and I think I worked in that office for almost 2 years, and so I had never worked with a team like that before, and I never have since. And what Mike did is he put together like teams. There were 4 Superman books, and so each team worked on one of the books, and all of the storylines interact. They all kind of interrelated. So we would all get pages of each other's work every week. Like Mike would put a package together, and we would get that. And I'll tell you, man, I've never been in it's friendly competition, right? You're all working towards the same goal, but you see a Brett Breeding page and you're like, holy shit, I got to top that, right? Or Brett introduced like this idea, so then I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to top him. So it was Dennis Janke, me, Brett Breeding, like we were always just trying to plus each other. And of course the pencilers were doing the same. So like the big thing for me was just Superman. And when we started working on that book, it didn't sell anything. And within that like year and a half or whatever, we took it all the way to the death of Superman. And then that book, just broke sales records. So that was one of those big defining moments that it didn't feel like it at the time. It felt very humble. It just felt like we wanted to make really good comic books and mostly just make deadlines. That was always, it's just survival, making your deadline. And then, let me see, I'm going to share this. And then, there's the death of, there's Doomsday that came up. And so then we started working towards basically killing Superman off.
Yeah, the royalties on that must have been bananas.
Oh my gosh, for years after that, yeah. And I talked to Jurgens. No, not Jurgens. It was Jerry Ordway. I think it was after he was on your show, Graham, and just talking about like why this stuff really hasn't been compiled. Like those 2 years of like lead up to this to the death of Superman.
It is now.
Yeah, it's collected, isn't it?
Yeah. When I was actually at Barnes and Noble yesterday. There's I think maybe at least 4, and when their spines are together, it makes the bleeding Superman logo.
That's the death of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was talking about like the run that led up to.
Right before it.
Yeah, like all the books and stuff like that, and even some of the runs that we did, because there were like some self-contained storylines that were like maybe 4 to 6 books that haven't been compiled. There's like a Green Lantern storyline. There's a Batman storyline. There's the Eradicator storyline. There's all kinds of stuff that hasn't been, packaged. And it just seems like DC's leaving money on the table. And with everybody talking about how they're going to start reprinting stuff and not making any new books, maybe they'll eventually get around to it. But Jerry was definitely like, they're leaving money on the table there.
Who was it? Whose idea was it to give when they brought Superman back to give him the hippie hair?
I think I did.
Yeah, the mullet, right?
Yeah, the mullet. Yeah.
That was horrible. Yeah. That was a really stupid idea.
Well, it didn't fit the character, that's for sure.
Right. Exactly.
No. And especially, it's like, hey, look, Clark's back with long hair.
Yeah.
And Superman's back with long hair.
Right.
Wait a second.
Oh, wait a minute.
The only difference is glasses. I can't tell the difference.
That's right. Clark wears a ponytail, though.
Yeah. Hey, you want to see me
Yeah,
change?
exactly.
Watch this, guys.
Whoa.
Hey, where'd Graham
whoa.
go? Where'd the hell Graham go?
I think I saw him go that way. Let me go get him.
Damn it.
Did you ever see that
I'm
that
back.
Oh, he's back.
TV show with Patrick Warburton? It didn't last very long.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
he's in a locker room with this guy that's the stand-in for Superman, right? And he's talking to this guy, and he's oh my gosh,
Where's Dan?
I'm
Where's
back.
Dan?
Where did Dan
I'm
go?
Superman.
Where's
I'm
Dan?
Superman.
Beautiful.
Dan's got it on backwards.
No,
It is
no,
on
Dan.
It's almost got the Larry Fine thing going on there. With
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
There it is.
go.
Now you're Superman.
Dude, you look freaking awesome like that. I think that should be your new look.
Oh, Dan.
Well, you're either Superman or that guy from Lost Boys.
Oh,
Oh yeah, you could be one of the Lost Boys. Yeah, you're eating maggots, Daniel.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
gonna be
my
the
gosh.
saxophone guy.
Oh no, that guy creeps me out, man.
that whole sequence, I just watched that recently. I'm like, what the hell?
He's all freaking oiled up and shit.
Yeah, does that film age well? Because I haven't seen it.
No.
No.
It's still a lot of fun, but you can
It's a
tell
lot
that it
of
was
fun.
directed by a gay guy.
Is
Is that a Joel Schumacher movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
oh.
Yeah, those brothers are a little too close, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of touching and there's a lot of feeling between those two.
Yes.
Yeah, so do you guys want to go another round or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we don't have. Oh, there's Aaron. Aaron's just in time.
Just in time. Perfect.
All
You're
right.
up, Aaron.
You're up.
Hey, yeah.
Oh,
Same thing.
There's all the dads, huh?
Hey.
oh my
She
God.
pointed at me again.
Dada. This one is Dada.
Yeah.
He is
for bed.
horrible.
Okay. Love you.
Oh,
Okay.
you got nothing.
Have good sleeps.
Well, because he told her she had to go to bed. All right, Aaron.
Where are we in the discussion?
It's your turn.
Round two.
Round two.
Round two.
Big defining moment. When you met me for the first time.
Before I forget, Billy, after the show's over, don't bug out right away. I got a question I want to ask you. Okay.
Aaron wants to go skinny dipping with you tonight.
Teen sensation Billy Idol.
We're taking professionals to a whole new level.
Billy Idol.
Whose mic is that that's making all that noise?
Tweezers.
Oh.
I'm gonna mute mine.
I don't know if I'd classify this as career defining, but it was eye opening. Okay.
Are you talking about the few pages I inked over you on Mystic? That is so nice.
No, that's not where I was going.
Oh,
Okay. In the early days at Marvel, right? And this is actually getting back before the Michael Golden experience. This was kind of the event that sort of defined to me that I needed a Michael Golden experience. They had a bunch of, you guys, I don't know if you remember or not, but they had a bunch in the main offices at Marvel on the main floor. They had a bunch in the center. All the offices were like around the outsides of the building, right? In the center, they had like a couch, and they had a bunch of like drafting tables just sort of jammed together in there, so people could go in and do like quick production work or whatever if they needed to finish something at the, while they were there.
Bullpen.
there was Remitters Raiders sitting in there.
Well, but there wasn't a lot of people. They weren't working there. It was just kind of a space that if you needed to do something, you'd have some space to do it. So I'm sitting there working on I had to make the alterations on a what the page I was doing. And so I'm sitting there working on this thing, right? Now, 2 tables behind, it was like an open aisle of like 3 drafting tables on, either side, right? And it was like a walkway through there. So Tom Rainey is, like a table down from me facing the other direction, right? and I'm sitting here, and he's working, and I'm working on a stupid What the page, right, with Forbish Man on it or whatever. And he's over there working on this double page X-Men spread, right? And so, of course, people in the office, the editors, assistant editors, whatever, they would all walk through this aisleway that was made between these drafting tables to get, to cut across the, without having to walk all the way around, right? They'd cut through. And they would all come by and they'd be looking at Tom's stuff. And it was just like, they would stand there and go, wow, oh, that's so awesome. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Oh, they would just, this happened all freaking day long, right? And it was just gushing all day long. And after they would come, after they, gush on him, they would walk this way past me, look over my shoulder to see what I was doing, and kept on walking. No one said anything the whole day. And I don't blame them. But I sat there, and it was that moment that I realized that I was like, man, you really suck. And you had better get your crap together or you're never going to make it in this industry. So
step up.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was at that moment Aaron realized What the was not the X-Men.
No,
Man, I loved What the.
And I always,
yeah, so did I.
It's fun. But this was like one of those many moments where you keep saying, you know what, God is humbling me to keep my ego in check. And he's been doing it my entire career. So, but that was that moment where you're thinking, yeah, I'm in the door, things are rolling. And then something like that happens. You like, man, I blow.
Yeah, no, but your humbleness makes you great, Aaron.
That's right.
The six of us, we care.
I'm not joking.
We do.
Oh, thank you, Graham.
The rest of the world doesn't, but we acknowledge your greatness.
Yep.
So is Andy up next?
Yeah, sure. Before I share the screen and stuff, I don't know why I thought of this. Maybe it's because of what the I guess one of the weirdest things, this isn't career defining or anything, just thought of it. I drew a page for the Andy Smith collector completists out there. I'm wondering how many people have the issue of Beavis and Butthead that has one page of art in it by me.
What?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, well, they were doing.
Can we see it?
I don't have it. I mean, I have the original, but I don't have it up. But basically,
what issue?
I honestly don't remember. I'll have to get back to you.
Fuck.
But basically, what they were doing in Beavis and Butthead every month, they had one page of a mainstream Marvel character interact with Beavis and Butthead, and I was on Quasar at the time, so Quasar was on the page. So, anyhow, but that's not it. And I don't necessarily know if what I'm going to share is necessarily career defining, but it was a big milestone, I guess, for me. I just popped it up there. Is when I wrote the book, and I love the fact that I can say, I wrote the book, Drawing Dynamic Comics. So
I have it.
It's funny because the way it came about, it was 1996 or 97 when we just moved to Florida, and I was in between jobs, and I was like, maybe I should just write a how-to book. And my wife's like, well, no pun intended, how do you do that? I'm like, I have no idea. So I went to Barnes & Noble or some bookstore, and I remember going to a section on book proposals. I literally asked the information desk, do you have a section on how to write a book proposal? And they're like, yeah, come over here. And I took a notepad and I just opened up a book and just made notes because I'm like, I'm not going to buy this book, just read it in like an hour, then not need it. So I made notes on how to write a proposal, went home, wrote up a proposal over the next couple days, did a nice cover letter. I also, when I was at the bookstore, looked at the how-to section and noticed that Watson Guptill, who was the publisher of this book, did a ton of how-to books, not just comic-related stuff, but oil painting, acrylic painting. The how-to section was just littered with different books, and the main theme was Watson Guptill. So I grabbed the editor's name out of one of the books, who was Candace Rainey, who is actually, I believe, Tom Rainey's aunt, but I didn't know that at the time. And so I wrote this proposal, packaged it up with a cover letter and a few of the comics I worked on at the time, threw it in there. I mailed it priority mail because I figured, well, if I mail it priority, at least I know it'll get there in 2 days. And then I figured I'd give it a week. If I don't hear anything, I'll make a follow-up call and just be like, hey, this is so-and-so, whatever. And my wife's like, after I mailed it, she was like, when do you think you'll hear something? And I said, are you kidding me? These people get hundreds of these things a week probably. I said, I doubt I'll ever hear anything. 2 days go by, my phone rings, I answer it, and it's, hi, this is Candace Rainey from Watson Guptill. Now, here's the thing. I wasn't expecting a phone call at all. So I kind of had this tone of that you take when you know it's a solicitor trying to sell you something. So I was like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, this is Candace Rainey from Watson Guptill. We got your book proposal. And I was like, yeah. Oh, hi, how are you? So everything changed. And dude, she's like, yeah, we got your proposal.
Which one did I send you?
Yeah. She's like, we got your proposal. We read it over and we'd like to do the book. 2 days, literally 2 days from the day I mailed it, priority mail.
Wow.
I'll never forget. And I was like, okay. And she's like, yeah, so we'll send you a contract. And, once you get it, if you have any questions, let's talk. And so I got the contract like a few days later, and basically it was a year deadline. And, the advance, I always make the joke because it's true. It's not, you do get a book advance, but it's no Stephen King book advance. That's why they give you a year to do it, because you're not living off that advance at all. So, I had a year to do it, and throughout the process, I would check in monthly with her, or she would check in with me monthly just to see how it was going. And, that's how Drawing Dynamic Comics came about. So,
well, once it came out, did you get a lot of feedback? Were there a lot of, aspiring artists thanking you? And
yeah, I still do. I mean, the thing is, it came out 21 years ago, July this year, 21 years ago. So I still have people come up to me at cons or send emails, and now it does definitely make you feel old, because I'll have people come up and go, oh my God, this was like the first book I got when I was 10.
Yeah.
Or,
There's people in the chat.
There's
people in the chat that said that.
People in the chat, that bought it. They
said they bought that book and it influenced them. That's
and
amazing.
it's gone on for 7. It's gone on for 7 printings. It was one of their best sellers, and the royalties that came in afterward totally made up for, that small advance.
That's great.
And then it led to a second book, and the second book they doubled my advance. Still not enough to live off of for a year, but it was nice, huh?
Or a month.
Yeah. Well, then I got Aaron hooked up with Watson Guptill to do a book. I got Jeff Johnson hooked up. Jeff did a book with Watson Guptill. And then those, you two. Yeah.
Well, I think influencing aspiring artists and stuff like that, that's very, very noteworthy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was, and then I used my characters because I couldn't obviously get copyrights for anybody else. Characters. So I was like, screw it, I'm just going to use my characters. So
I think it's even better. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that
Cool.
that would probably be the second big milestone.
Okay.
So, and it came out in Spanish, so I have a Spanish copy, and I don't have a copy of it, but I had to sign a release for Chinese rights as well. So
yeah, because they're so honest.
Yeah.
We'll just steal it anyway.
Still waiting on those royalties to come in.
Yeah, he's still waiting for his royalties from China.
Yeah. So.
We didn't sell any books.
Yeah. If I may interject real quick, because look at the color palette going on Graham Nolan's video right now. Very Maxwell Parrish, isn't it?
Right.
He's beautiful.
Right.
Look at him.
The sky. It looks like it's done with glaze. Just building. Look at that.
See, I told you I had good lighting here.
Yeah.
That's right.
Dream. Look at him.
He's facing west, apparently, as the sun goes down.
Living the life.
Facing west.
So
he's
Billy,
he's got to get outside in Buffalo when he can, because in 2 months it's going to be snowing.
That's right.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So Billy, what's yours next?
Okay,
What
my
order
other
are we
one
doing
is,
anyway? We going up and down or what?
Well, I'm going in the first order that we went, so things have shifted since Aaron.
Oh, who's next then?
It's you, Billy.
Oh, okay. Try to make this quick. I was at San Diego Comic-Con in 1994 because, again, I was trying to get work in 93, couldn't get any work. She came out in March of 94. At San Diego Comic-Con, I shared the video. In 1994, we were the thing. We were the new big thing. It was massive. So I meet this guy, and he's like, yeah, I'm a lawyer. And he becomes my lawyer. And he becomes one of my best friends. His name was Keith Boski. We just hit it off. His wife, Sari, was there. It was me and Debbie. The girls hit it off. He was a young lawyer. He's like, maybe he's like a year older than me, 2 years older than me or so. And he ends up running, he because of the success of comics, of the Bad Girls and comics like that, he ends up getting a job at IDOS Entertainment and is one of the pivotal guys that made Tomb Raider what it is. So he gets Tomb Raider huge. Then IDOS goes through a bunch of stuff. I think they were bought by another company. He gets let go. He gets this great golden parachute and becomes an agent for ICM. And now I'm represented by ICM because my buddy is now an agent.
That is cool.
That's awesome.
He's like, he goes, you know who John Milius is? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, of course, I love John Milius. He's like, you guys would love each other. Puts me on the phone with John Milius, and we become pals, me and John Milius.
Oh my gosh.
My life, So John starts talking to me about, we love history, love World War II. John starts telling me this story about the 442, the Sergeant Rock script he wrote for for Schwarzenegger. And it all takes place in Italy, and it's all involves the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, and which were the Japanese American soldiers. So he starts telling me this idea. I'm like, oh my God, that would make a great comic, So I come up with this script this pitch to go to DC to do Sergeant Rock, the Lost Battalion, based on the Lost Battalion with the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. Jimmy gets me in the door. I take Dan DiDio out to lunch. I have Dan DiDio crying at the end of lunch. I get my first work for DC to write and draw Sergeant Rock, the Lost Battalion, co-writing with John Milius, and then John Milius pulls out, I don't want to do that. You do it. And they end up getting a stroke. So that was my break to do Sergeant Rock, the Lost Battalion, which was, if I could share, for those that it.
Oh, yeah.
Great artwork, man.
I can do it. I got this one. I think this one's it right here.
There it is.
Boom. Okay. So,
yeah, dude.
Nice.
Sergeant Rock, the Lost Battalion. But that then leads me to, because I was doing Sergeant Rock, the Lost Battalion, that then leads me that I now felt was on a mission, that this book has got to be something so important. This book has got to be, I want to work with the actual veterans, not that image, sorry. Damn image, I'm sorry. Let me just check to see which. Okay, here it is. Okay, and because the book was almost like a documentary. That's what they wanted it to be like. And we were using actual veterans' names, and the veterans were actually working with me on this book, sharing their life experiences with me. I was able to go to Normandy and all. And let me see if this is the image. Nope, that's not the image. Don't share that. Anyway, I got to meet these great Medal of Honor recipients, things like that. I got to meet all these great veterans. I was able to make a presentation at the DC at Vegas at the DC Comics at their Diamond presentation, and I went by myself. I flew myself in there. They wouldn't put me up in a hotel. Jimmy let me share his room with him, and Bob Wayne is like, "You what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Well, I want to pitch Sergeant Rock to all these retailers." So he's like, okay. So I get up there, and Dan and Bob Wayne introduces me, Billy Tucci, and she was popular and stuff. And I stand up and I get a nice applause, and I said, "I'm sure you're all wondering why this guy, me, who's known for drawing women comics, because that's what I've done, comics with female leads. Who the hell am I to be drawing Sergeant Rock to take on to take this mantle from, say, Joe Kubert?" Or these great creators that worked on it, Russ Heath, Frank Redondo, all these amazing artists that drew Sergeant Rock and Bob Kanigher. Who am I to take it on? And I basically told the story of the 442. I told the story of how these men that were stripped just because their parents or their grandparents were born in Japan was taken from their homes, taken from their businesses, and thanks to FDR, were sent to concentration camps. And they were basically forced to live behind barbed wire with machine guns guarding them. And then something happened. The war effort had moved on, had turned in such a thing. We needed more manpower. And what did they do? That they went to the Japanese camps, and all of these boys whose everything was taken away from them volunteered to fight for this country. And they went over
crazy.
And they became the 442. And this is what my story is about. That's right. Go for broke, Danky Frankie. And these men that gave up everything and flew halfway around the world to fight for another's freedom when their own families were incarcerated back behind barbed wire back home.
Yeah, my science teacher in high school, he was a 5-year-old, Hiro Okawachi. He's still with us. He was 5 in one of those internment camps.
One of those internment, yeah.
Wow.
And this. So what happened was, so then I'm telling the story, and I said, this is about these veterans. I want to share their story before they're gone. And then I pulled something and I said, and ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Colonel so-and-so and Sergeant so-and-so of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. And I had 2 friends, 2 veterans that were there. And these men stood up in the center of the room at the table with Jimmy Palmiotti. And these men stood up, and this room erupted in a standing ovation. Wow. And the place went, and I said, because it's their story that's got to be told. And that's why I'm telling this story.
It was bigger than you. It
wasn't about me. And I'm telling, I said, I guarantee I won't let them or any of you down. And Bob Wayne, so I'm walking off and I'm like, thank you. And Bendis was a keynote speaker for Marvel. Blew them all away. And I'm walking off, and Bob Wayne grabs my hand and is shaking my hand like this, and I'm like, and he grabbed my hand, he held it, he goes, no, he goes, and he had tears coming down his eyes. And he said, it was almost like the right stuff, because afterwards we're all hanging out. It's like, I've never thought in my lifetime that I would hear a standing ovation for a pitch meeting to pitch a comic book. It didn't even come out yet. So, but I was my passion for it, and I wanted to tell their story. And but the funny thing is that the more research I did, the more veterans I became friends with. And I found one of the men now, these men were trapped 7 miles behind enemy lines, surrounded by 4,000 German soldiers, 275 Americans. And they had to be resupplied by air. And it was called 1010, which means there's the entire planes of the entire U.S. 8th and 9th Air Force were grounded, except for one squadron of flying P-47 Thunderbolts. And they volunteered to go on this mission to resupply the lost battalion so they can hold out a few more days so the Japanese Americans can break through to them, because he sent them on a suicide mission. And all of a sudden, I become friends with his name is Lieutenant Colonel Arch Archilla, and met him, became friends with him, and became friends with his grandson, who their family was so appreciative that I gave their family their due. And my buddy, Evan Archilla, who was, this leads to this, is that we go to dinner, and he's like, "Wow, you made your opus." And I said, well, to be honest with you, it's not my opus. I have one comic, my dream project. He's like, "What's that?" And I said, "I want to tell the Christmas story. I want to tell the story of the birth of Jesus." And, he's like, "Oh my God." And he had a buddy who was a doctor, and they financed it. And and then I could lead to this one. I think I can get this one. Let me see. Boom. And we got to do, if it's showing, you could share it, Art, if you don't mind.
Oh, there's
I was born. I did the Christmas.
Wow.
And I've always wanted to tell that. And we won the Christian Book Award for the Book of the Year with that. And the Sergeant Rock the Lost Battalion won the gold medal from the Military Writers Society of America for the Book of the Year. And it's all you know, because of that. So that was that.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And I published that book. We published that through Apostle Arts, our you know, Child is Born book. And Sergeant Rock went on to become the biggest selling war comic in 35 years. I ended up doing more stuff for DC, got nominated for an Eisner, and then they found out that I was supporting Mitch Romney in 2012 and never heard from them ever again.
No way.
That was it.
Oh,
That was it. And they told-
Billy,
they said it.
if I'd have known you'd supported Mitch Romney, I'd have unfriended you too.
Well, what was it? It was 2012. I had to vote for
It was the
Obama.
best we had. What can you
That's
do?
true.
Come on,
I know.
you know, I'm like, geez.
I know. I
So,
voted for that.
except for Jimmy. Jimmy then gave me Jimmy gave me a Harley Quinn book, which was fun in 2014. I did a Harley Quinn book.
So Graham's saying that he voted for Obama. Is that what he's saying?
No,
Yeah.
no.
I'll tell you, man, after Billy tells his stories, I feel like I should just retire.
No,
I know.
These amazing stories. I mean, just what a humanitarian. It's just awesome.
Well, I was hoping that Billy was going to excel here, even though he.
yeah, but we went. Yeah, but yo, you got to ask my wife because some of those pages, and if I can grab if I can share one more screen, let me grab that Sergeant Rock page. If I can go one more thing, if I can share this. Anyway, that led me because of the success of Sergeant Rock, and I had a flag flown for me in Camp Victory in Iraq, and that got me on the radar of the military because I'm a former soldier myself.
Oh,
and
yeah,
everything like that. And what the hell, Graham Nolan, you were there. You weren't there with us at this thing, but that led to this art. If you want to share that,
There it is.
Ken, is that?
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
At the Rhode Island Comic Con in 2016, Veterans Day 2016, Stan Lee had his panel, and I was able to get the United States Army, the United States Air Force, Marine Corps, the Navy, all to give awards to Stan Lee for being a World War II veteran. And that's me shaking. I was the master of ceremonies sort of thing. And he was so touched, and he said it. He said that aside from my marriage and my daughter being born, this has to be one of the greatest nights of my life because of all the soldiers, and the crowd was there, and they flew a flag in his honor at the military base and stuff like that. And he got certificates from the Marine Corps, from everything. It was such a great night. Tears were everywhere, and
But manly tears.
manly tears.
Very manly.
Yeah,
The tears of warriors.
Yes, tears of
That's right.
warriors. Like when the New York, like when your hockey team, Graham Nolan will attest to this because he's a huge hockey fan. When your team wins a Stanley Cup,
Nah, I like American sports, Billy.
you practically live in Canada, for God's sakes.
You're not
That's true.
The Toronto Maple Leafs play in Buffalo.
What do you mean?
Did you know that?
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they're
Yeah, that's their home. That the Toronto Maple Leafs play all their home games in Buffalo. They played last week against the Yankees, and they play
no. Toronto
they
Blue
play it.
Jays.
Yeah, they play it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, what I said, Maple Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
Yeah.
They play at some minor league park,
Yeah.
like 5,000, and it's all Yankee
Bison.
fans. You gotta feel bad.
Because
for
it's too damn cold in
That's
there.
so, yeah, and Toronto's supposed to be at home. The
$200 a ticket for the
Wow.
Yankee games.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
So,
For bleachers.
That's why
Thank you,
I'm gonna see them. I'm gonna see them play the Braves for $11.
there you go, buddy. All right.
Wow.
That's how you do that. If you want to see the Yankees
Yeah.
play, see them in your city.
And then you'll pay $12 for a beer.
Oh no, it's $16 for a beer, and but if it's a premium beer, Graham, at the Nassau Coliseum, it's $17.
Is it
But
really?
they're big. They're big beers. Though.
Yeah, they're big, but but $16 for Bud Light.
Wow.
And the premium beer
Perrier.
is Heineken. It's
Bud
not even,
Light.
It's Heineken.
Perrier.
It's not like even Beck's. You know,
And it will be nice and warm by the time you get to your seat.
can't even get a Foster's, eh? So that's me. I'm done. So
Dude, that's awesome.
That's a great story.
Great.
Billy.
I'm very
That's a
blessed. I'm
great
very
story,
blessed in this
man.
industry.
I thought you were going to go with the She movie because you had Tia Carrera attached.
Yeah, but
to
that
it.
wasn't a movie. It didn't help my career. I wasted
That's
a lot
true.
of time.
It is a pretty cool moment.
Oh, I'll tell that story too on another show.
All right.
Swing
Hey,
and the Misses.
Dan.
How about that? The swing and the
Yeah.
misses. That's the next
There
one.
you go.
So.
I'll keep mine quick. You know, when I started storyboarding, that was a big change in my career. If you want to open up the page, the share page, this is my IMDb page, and I started off doing storyboards. So there's, you know, this will go back to, it says 2005, but Transporter 2 is like one of the first movies I worked on.
Please tell me you did that scene in Transport 2 where he drives the car up and there's that hook or that crane. And
okay. All right. Now you're asking me to. Let me tell you a side story about that before we get into this. Yes,
that was the craziest thing I've ever seen in a car.
Yes, I storyboarded it, but I also storyboarded 5 other ways for that scene to actually work. And the director and I, Louis, who's still a friend of mine, Louis Leterrier, he and I both, we were sitting in his hotel room in Florida, and we're reading it, and we're going, dude, this is fucking stupid. It was written, the script was written by Robert Kamen, who wrote Karate Kid, and Luc Besson, who also, you know, wrote La Femme Nikita. He wrote The Professional, some of my favorite movies. But this is like, it's ridiculous, right? Like, there's a bomb on the bottom of the car. So I think I know what I'll do to take it off of my car. I'll just drive up a boat ramp, barrel roll it, have that sky hook on that crane, peel it off, and I'll just land over there and drive off. And we're like, dude, this is, you know, you're supposed to suspend disbelief, but we couldn't get over this. So Louis and I spent the weekend coming up with 5 different ways. Our favorite was this like high-speed drift thing where he ended up drifting towards camera a la Akira with the bomb exploding behind him and him kind of scooting in and giving a cool Jason Statham look and driving off.
That's better.
It would have been great. We go to meet with Luke. We say, hey, Luke, we want to talk about scene 47. And, you know, this is we thought it was a little crazy. So here are our proposed boards. Louis puts down the folder and slides it over to Luke. Luke puts his hand on the folder, slides it back, and says, as written. Those are the only 2 words he said to us, is as written. And Louis and I kind of looked at each other, a very knowing look, kind of like, dude, this sucks. And I had to go on board that. And we did the best we could.
Well, nothing against you, but I'll tell you, the first one was so freaking good. And it was so grounded. And the second one, I thought that it was almost...
Dude, that movie got...
one scene actually destroyed it.
Well, there, a lot more got destroyed. We did reshoots in Paris, France in 2005. We did all of the principal photography in Miami in the summer of 2004. We got hit by 4 hurricanes, which took out 10 of our shooting days. We had 40 days that got cut down to 30. And it was raining all the time, so a lot of our outdoor locations got moved indoor. There was a lot of rewrites happening. So that was problem number 1. Problem number 2, we're in Paris editing the thing. The Fox representatives come and sit to watch Louis' cut of the movie, and we were told, you guys, the last one is PG-13. We want to crank up the badassness. Go make a rated R movie. So we went and shot a rated R movie. The executives came and watched Louis' cut, and they said, wow, this is great. This is very exciting. The studio wants you to make this PG-13.
What?
Now, we didn't shoot a PG-13 movie. Like, so there wasn't, like, coverage, like all the swear words, a lot of the violence, things like that. Like, I remember one of the things specifically where I was like, man, this is ridiculous, because it was like a cool moment. Jason Statham's got his gun out and he's pointing it at the doctor and says, what is this? And the guy goes, it's an incumbent virus that lasts 20, that will spread and blah, blah, blah. And Jason puts the gun closer to his head and goes, and in fucking English? He goes, half of Miami will be dead by tomorrow. And we had to take the in fucking English, but we didn't have the line of Jason. So we had to get him in to do ADR. Instead of in fucking English with him looking badass with a gun at the camera, it was on the doctor's face with an ADR of Jason going, in English, please. You know, so that happened. There were a lot of things that trimmed that movie down. So from that movie, I did a few. I ended up working on a movie called ATL, where they asked me to not only do the storyboards, but the main character in the movie drew. So they wanted me to provide on-camera artwork, but they didn't want me to draw like me. They said, pretend you're a young black teenager growing up in 80s Atlanta wanting to be a newspaper artist. So I had to like change my style, really try to get into character as an artist. And anytime you saw the artwork on screen, that guy drawing, I basically drew something and they put it in front of him and he pretended. So that job, a few other movies happened in between, but that job, I got a call from the same producer, a really, really cool guy named Craig Knold. And he said, listen, man, I'm putting together this pilot with a guy named David Katzenberg and another guy named Seth Grahame-Smith. And Dave Katzenberg is Jeffrey Katzenberg's kid, and Seth Grahame-Smith wrote a book called Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. And they put together this TV show, and it was called let me see where it is, if they have it. There we go. It's called The Hard Times of R.J. Berger. So that particular show was a show about this kid, nerdy kid who liked to draw, that had a very big penis. That was the premise of the show. And during the show,
you didn't ask my permission to do that. God damn.
Take it up with the showrunners. Take it up with
an
MTV.
autobiography. It was all about.
So that particular show, because it had some risque stuff, their way of problem solving was to animate some of the stuff to kind of defang it, because it couldn't make it. The as written couldn't make it past the ratings. So, but if it was animated, it would. So they asked me, "Do you do animation?" Of course, I said, "Yeah." But I said, "Yeah." They gave for the pilot. They gave me $5,000. I storyboarded it. I created all the elements. Got Matt Yackey to color all of the pieces. Hired my buddy Dennis Shin, who is an After Effects guy, to animate it. I directed him on how to animate it to sound.
How long was it?
It was only 1 minute.
Okay,
it was 1 minute. In fact, I'll share with you guys, like afterwards. I'll give you. There's a Vimeo link where you can watch all the clips. We ended up getting picked up for 2 seasons. So I directed the 25 episodes of the animated parts of that particular show, and based on the merits of that, some executives at Wildbrain and HBO had seen that work, and there was an empty slot on the Ricky Gervais show for a director, and they thought I would be good to fit that bill. You know, like, hey, you know what? This guy knows humor. He can tell a story. He can do multiple styles. So I went and interviewed with the folks at Wildbrain. They liked me. They sent me to meet with the executives at HBO, which was one of the most terrifying things. I remember almost passing out. It was like their office. They had, like, you know, True Blood, this big True Blood poster on the wall. Right. But you go up this elevator and you walk across this glass plank into this office, you know. And I remember going up the elevator and walking across, and it's glass, and I'm looking down, and there's True Blood. I'm looking down, that's where I was waiting, and then I look across, and there's this door, and I'm going, holy fuck! Like I was like, I'm gonna fucking pass out. Like, ever since I was a kid, I get anxiety attacks, you know. And I thought, I'm gonna have one. I'm gonna fucking make an ass out of myself. And then I remember getting in there, and I sat down. They said, "How you doing?" And I just went, "I'm just happy I didn't pass out." And they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I thought I was gonna pass out there. This is fucking huge." And they're like, they started laughing, and it took the weirdness out of the air. And they started asking me questions, and I pitched to them my take on the show. And from there, I was the series director for season 2 and season 3. We did 26 episodes for HBO, and then from there I got hired to work at Mattel and oversee Monster High, Ever After High, Hot Wheels, Max Steel, and then after that, when I came here to Atlanta and started doing Doom Patrol, Legacy, Stargirl. So that, I mean, it really, like, it changed my trajectory as an artist, going from comics to directing to being executive at Mattel. But now I'm back in comics because really it's my passion. Even with the control, the most control I ever had was on Gervais, because all of the artists were in the same building. We had our board artists, our designers, our background guys, our animators, and our editor. The only 2 people that were off-site were our composer, Glenn, who was in England, and our mixer, who was at Salami. And we basically had everybody in there, and like that was cool, but you lose that intimacy as a creator. You can kind of delegate, which is kind of cool because you feel like a conductor.
Right.
It's like, this is what I want out of this background. Boom, and it comes back, and you get 5 versions. You're like, that's neat. I guess I'll go with that one. It was a lot of fun, but there's something about solo, and that's what I love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my long ass story. That's my long.
That's
now you're
awesome.
back. Yeah, it was a good story.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. Just when you were talking about the executive and just like breaking the ice with the truth, but it kind of sounded like a joke. I was going to the Kids WB building in Burbank or wherever the hell it was. I had a meeting, and I was running really, really late, so I was just worried that I was going to miss the meeting. So I'm in the elevator. I'm going to go down or up wherever the hell the office is.
Art, you said you were going to go down.
Go down.
Nice, Art.
So you've already got one up on Batman.
Got one up.
Oh,
Yes. On Catwoman.
Yeah, I like how Graham is like, no.
No. and so anyway, there's this guy that's running from the parking lot, and he's like, hold the door. And he comes in, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm really running late, for this meeting. He's like, I'm really running late for this meeting. And so we're just cracking up, and we're just hanging out and talking. And then, I get into the office, I get into the meeting room, and his assistant's there. And then she's like, it'll take a minute or 2 for, him to get here. He's running a little late. And then it's
I know where this is going. Yeah, I know where this is going. He was meeting with you.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was one of those great moments where, like you said, it's always like nerve-wracking, right, when you go in and talk to these people. But then, like, if the ice could be broken, prior, then it makes everything so much easier because you got like 5 minutes to pitch your comic book into an animated feature or whatever the hell it is. And it was probably the best meeting I've ever had with somebody. Yeah. So that was good. But before we go to Graham, let me read this here, the super chat. We have, thank you so much for the $2. Check out Starblade's review tonight. Where is that?
That's on F Off Well-Read's YouTube channel, apparently.
Is that on his YouTube channel? Okay.
It must be.
Yeah. So everybody go do that after the Professionals, indeed. All right. So we got Graham up next.
All right. Well, it's the early 1990s, and I had just come off of working on Hawk World, which is a series I started with issue number 1. I did, I think, 22, 24 issues of that. And I was looking to kind of expand or put more arrows in my quiver. So Mark Waid and I got together, and we pitched a Metamorpho series. And I co-plotted it with Mark, and I was set to do inks, pencils and inks. Excuse me. And I thought, well, this is going to be a great showcase for me for DC's because I'm going to be able to do the full art, and I had some control of the story as well. And I got a call from Scott Peterson saying, we've got 3 issues of Detective Comics that we'd like you to, do fill-ins for. And I debated. I'm like, oh, shit. Now, you got to understand, since I was 8 years old, I wanted to draw Batman. But I'm in my head, I'm thinking, but I've got full control over this series here. They just want me to pencil Detective Comics. And so I'm like, you know, I'm not sure what to do. I'm talking to Julie.
So I get uppity with Superman, and Graham Nolan gets uppity with Batman. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, so you know, Julie looks at me and she pulls that chair thing, you know, and slaps me in the face and goes, "Snap out of it," you know. Yeah. She's like, "Are you kidding? You've always wanted to do Batman, you know. You can't turn this down." Yeah. So I decided, well, okay, I'm going to take on this job. I gave up the inks on Metamorpho, so I just penciled that, and then I penciled 3 issues of Detective Comics. And as a result of those 3 issues, they came to me and they said, well, we're doing this story where we're going to break Batman, and we need a new character, and do you want to design this character? And I said, well, sure, what is it? And it was Bane. You know, it ended up being Bane on the strength of the Detective Comics. So once I finished Vengeance of Bane, then they offered me Detective as a regular gig, and it changed my career. You know, it's like, but I came this close to turning it down. You know,
oh shit.
I was thinking stupidly, like, you know, nobody remembers the Metamorpho series, you know, whether I inked it or not, you know. But you know, so it was one of those, you know, brain fart moments that I needed a little guidance on, and Julie steered me in the right direction.
I love when people are asked these questions like, did you know that Bane was going to be the sensation that it was? And then there are people, but I'm just using this as an example, but there are people like, did you know this was going to happen? They go, yes, I knew it as soon as we did it, you know, that it was going to be a huge hit. I'm like, you did not know that. No one knows these things, you know?
We knew that Bane was going to be popular from the point of view of the story. You know, we knew he was going to be popular in the story, but when the story was over, when Nightfall was over, I mean, nobody could have predicted that the character would have the legs that it did. And, you know, is right around, what was it, 1995, he made his first multimedia appearance in Batman the Animated Series. And that's when we were like, oh, wow. You know, oh, and I think that same year, somewhere, 95, 97, the Joel Schumacher Batman film came out, and they did this terrible representation of Bane.
That was horrible.
But he was in the movie, you know, so it was again more exposure for the character to the general public. And then there was a dead period where there was nothing, and then the video games came out. The PlayStation stuff for Arkham Asylum, and that just changed the paradigm because it introduced an entirely new generation of young people to this character, and that's when he really started to take off.
Did you like what they did with the character in that Batman Beyond, where he was the older guy, and then these young guys were using the formula or whatever? Yeah, the Venom. Yeah. Did you like that? What they did with the character?
I haven't liked much that they've done with the character, to be honest. They just don't seem to understand who this character is, what his roots were. You know what he's.
I'll get you, Batman.
Yeah. I mean, what was that? You know?
Yeah, the Christopher Nolan film was the worst, man. I was like, that's not even Bane. That's not even
I know. Bane. It was such a joke.
Yeah.
It was a joke in the trailer, too. Like, I laughed. I was like, wait a minute, is that real?
Yeah.
That's like not even trying. I think cosplayers, you know, come up with better.
Right. But the thing is that, you know, there's no such thing as bad press, and Bane became even from that movie, his name got out there into the general public in ways that it never was before, even though they don't really understand who this character is and what motivates him, what makes him interesting. You know, the cool thing about the character that, you know, we worked on was that Bane doesn't see himself as a bad guy. He sees himself as a victim. and that everything he does is in service of that the world owes him, because he was an innocent kid. You know, he was raised in this prison to serve the life sentence of his father. He committed no crime, but he became the man he was because of the environment he grew up in. And he always sees himself as a victim. And, you know, the aspect that I like about him too is that he's the evil Doc Savage. And I'm a huge Doc Savage fan and pulp nut. And I designed his look when his mask is off based on the James Bama Doc Savage images. If you look at those early drawings from Vengeance of Bane, it's Doc Savage with his head shaved. He still has the widow's peak, but I shaved his head so that you could expose the ports for the wires to go into and all that kind of stuff. But I gave him the same facial features. So yeah, he's evil Doc Savage.
Who came up with the ports in the back of the neck? Because I thought that was a great design.
I did.
Oh, that was okay. That was you. So the script said like somehow it's getting into his bloodstream. So you were like through the back of the neck.
No, I didn't even have a script. Chuck and I talked about the nature of it, that venom was going to be used, and we needed a delivery device for him, and we couldn't have him just like pulling out hypodermic needles and shooting himself. So I came up with the idea of this unit that went up into his head and the ports and stuff. And here's the thing that is never been talked about really, is that his belt has those like vertical lines on it. Those are actually venom packets. And I designed it. I ripped this off from Steve Ditko, because Ditko had Spidey with the web stuff on his belt, and he would take that webbing stuff and put it into his wrist thing. And so I thought, well, that would be kind of cool. So I gave Bane this belt, and that he would take those packets out, slap it into the wrist thing, press the button, and then it would shoot the venom up into his head.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. Didn't they do? I think Batman Beyond, they had like patches or something, right? And they would slap them on.
I think he was quitting smoking. I think that's what that was.
Yeah, so they thought they were outwitting you guys.
Yeah.
It's the future of patches. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So very good. So I think it's back on me now. So for me, like probably the biggest moment, if you can believe it, after Superman was the X-Men. So I got.
Hey, before you go into it, Art, I just got to say I'm going to have to tap out here. I'm down to a couple percentage points on my power on my. I'm about to crash here on my iPad.
Well, I'm glad we got the Bane story in before that happened. So thanks a lot, Graham, and have a great.
Sorry, I got to bail early, guys.
Thanks, Graham.
See you, buddy.
Yeah.
See you later.
See you later.
I'll see you guys. See you, bros.
Bye.
Yeah, hit it and quit it. Yeah, Graham. So X-Men was like the big thing. So I'm working on Superman, and so Bob Harris starts calling and saying, I need some fill-ins on these X-Men annuals, like Art Adams, things like that. And so I started doing that. And then I was already friends with Jim Lee. And so then we were like con friends, not like close or anything. And so then through Bob Harris, he said, you should give Art a call, because we're kind of getting tight on deadlines and things like that. And so I think they wanted to expand, like they wanted Will Portacio to do one of the books, and for me to do one, or for Jim to do one of the books. But they only had Scott Williams, so they only had one inker. And so the cool thing is, like, since I was doing finishes on Dan Jurgens, I was already kind of incorporating a lot of those styles and a lot of that influence that they had, like the manga stuff. They were bringing that over, So if you look at the Dan Jurgens stuff, there's those like the manga speed lines, and we called it Akira lines, and things like that. So the Japanese influence was coming over, and I was definitely right there with those guys, and they were Art Adams, Barry Windsor Smith, like just Gil Kane, Klaus Janson. Like I was definitely right in that pocket. Like when you play the drums, you're in the pocket, and I was definitely in that pocket at the time. And so it just fit. It fit really well, and they were maybe an hour, hour and a half from my house. So we could also hang out, so they would come to my studio, I'd go to their studio. And so it was a great kind of lightning in a bottle moment. And just like what I was trying to say with Graham, like we had no idea. We had no idea that anything was going to come of it. We were just kind of having a good time and just doing comic books. And so, then the next thing a year or so into it, it's like the West Coast look. People are starting to emulate it, over the entire industry. Marvel is saying, do work like this, and they're showing, everybody our stuff. And I tell you, man, it was the craziest time in my career. I've never seen anything like it, and I think it was good because I was really naive. I had no idea what to expect. I had no expectations, so I was just riding the wave. You know what I mean? Like I was just in that moment, and it was great. So, but the thing is, when I look back, mostly it's like, yeah, it was great, but it was really stressful. I just remember trying to get things done. You know what I mean? Like we were just like scrambling to get those books done. A lot of those books were weeks from shipping. So as soon as we finish a book, it would come out. And so Marvel didn't want to let any of us go. So they wanted to keep the same team on every one of those 2 books. So no matter what it took, they were accommodating, because I lived in the South Bay in LA, and that beach area is really close to LAX. And so we would work till like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning trying to get pages done. And then I would drive down to LAX and I would drop things off at like Delta Dash. They had like next day deliveries. They had like TWA something, and they had Delta Dash. And so if you got it to them before like 4 o'clock in the morning or something, they could get it to New York City by New York City time in the morning. So they would have it. And so I think it was like at the time it was $100+ per shipment. And so sometimes it was coming down to 1 page. You know what I mean? Like we were working till 4 o'clock in the morning just to get 1 page done, driving it down to LAX 4 o'clock in the morning, and hand it. And LAX is pretty much closed, so you're going like back routes to like TWA, or Delta Dash or whatever, and then you're just hand dropping it off almost like on the tarmac of the airport. And so, we were doing stuff like that. And then the next thing I know is, let me share this, is Image is starting. Nobody really knew what Image was going to be. This is the Will stuff. This is kind of the beginning.
I had that issue.
My work with Will's, but then
I still have it. Yeah.
What was really nice
on
is
my spinner rack
is let me get to it. I'm going the wrong way. Is Jim Lee, because he left a little earlier than I did from Marvel. And I already knew that Image, and we were already in talks about like this Image Comics and what it was going to be. And I was pretty tight with Jim, obviously, and then Mark Silvestri. So I was going to ink Cyberforce, and I was going to work on Wetworks with Will. So those were going to be my 2 Image books early on. Neither one of them happened. So I ended up staying at Marvel a little longer. So Bob Harris gave me pencil and ink work on X-Men. So I followed Jim Lee. It's not a job you want to follow on, but I did the best I could. So I did 12 and 13 of X-Men, and it was quite a haul, because we still had the same deadline restrictions, but I was penciling and inking now 22 pages, versus doing finishes over Jim Lee, which was still a lot of work, but it was nothing compared to this. But at the time, you're stupid, you're young. If somebody says, can you do this? You always say yes, because you never know if you're going to have another job. Yeah. So I said yes. And then the next thing I knew, this book came along. So I ended up just going from that right into Cable. And I think this was in the top 5 of books that year as far as sales.
Wow.
So,
can I ask you a question, Art?
Sure.
And if I'm stepping out of line, please tell me. But man, how much money are you making off each of them issues?
For the inks,
Everybody wants to know.
No, yeah, it doesn't matter anymore because it's so
Long
30
time.
years ago.
yeah, but like the royalties alone could be like between 20 and 25K for 22 pages of work. So it was over $1,000 a page in royalties. Plus we got our page rate. And of course, Jim Lee and Wills made more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was an inker royalty. But when I was doing finishes on Jim and Wills, which I was just a lot faster as far as getting work done than Scott was. So I ended up doing more work, and so then those guys knew that I could pencil as well. So there was a lot of issues I was inking over Wills that I wasn't getting credit for as far as finishing. So he was just giving me like cartoon outlines, and then all the hatching and shadowing and all that was done by me. And then Jim started doing the same, because he was like, well, I can gain some time on my deadlines as well. And so, we would do it that way. The thing that bugged me the most about working with Jim is that Jim would work balls to the wall until the book was done. Like he would start the book and he wouldn't stop, like no social life, no nothing until he finished it. And then he would take a complete week off. So, I would be sitting waiting, for pages for a week. But, after you get into the rhythm of it, you go, well, I can kind of have a week to either take more work on, which is what I usually did, or take time off, which I never did.
Time off. What's that?
Yeah,
exactly. So that was a big break. And then it led to just major labors of love. I know Dan did some creator-owned stuff at Image Comics, and so I got to do Chrono Mechanics through Image Comics, which is still just my gosh, it just changed my life completely. Just being able to write and draw my own stories, and create a universe. I'm still to this day very, very proud of this book and want to tell more stories. And then of course there's Black and White that I did in '94, in the Image heyday. And I don't even want to tell you guys what the royalties were on those books.
I have those books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Hey man, we're shareholders. We bought them. So how much did you make?
Yeah.
Come on.
It was interesting because I don't know, Dan, did you ever get the breakdown, the financial breakdown of like Bloodstrike #1? Did you see what the gross of that book was?
Yeah, it's a topic I don't want to talk about for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, but yeah, no, I know how it breaks down. I know what things cost, and I know what it sold, and yes.
Yeah, well, that was the heartbreak. So I'm just gonna say it was crazy numbers, but the overall numbers before expenses, oh my gosh, you could buy a brand new house in LA, like a nice house for that, Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And then what broke my heart is, they give you the itemized breakdown of expenses and costs, and before you know it, it's like you're still making a lot of money, but it's not this money that was way up here. So I do remember, just talking to was it Tony? Was it Tony Libido? Was that who was in charge?
He was a publisher for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was Larry Martyr.
Yeah, I remember talking to Tony about it, and he's like, "Well, that's the expenses." But then also in the day, all the vendors you'd be working with, they were charging top dollar as well.
Yeah,
so you were paying top dollar. I remember, Billy probably remembers this, like film output. You had to pay for film output, and I remember it was like $100, $150 for per page for just film output. It was crazy.
Yeah, and the paper and the paper prices were really high then too. For some reason, when we're selling the most books is when the paper prices were at an all-time high.
Of course.
Yeah, Billy says for some reason they knew.
Yeah,
they knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you guys want to wrap it up?
Probably should. Yeah.
Yeah.
10:06 over here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is 10:06. Holy crap. Wow.
Oh, look at this! Look at this! A burn from Tara Wombat.
Oh man, come on!
Come on, dang.
After that great story, Tara Wombat comes at me.
No respect for his elders, clearly.
And that's not true art that you were Frank Frazetta's art teacher, were you?
I mean, that's not true.
Well, somebody in the chat said Art's first work was on the Yellow Kid. So
yeah.
Well, you know what, Billy? I would be a much better artist today if that indeed was true, the Frank Frazetta thing. Yeah.
Hey, Windsor McKay was your first assistant, right?
That's right.
I love that dude's work, man. I still look at it to this day, and I'm like, wow, that is inspiring.
Oh, it's good, dude. It's really good.
Yeah.
The Nemo stuff is inspired.
Yeah.
So it's fine art. That's what it is.
I like that Hollywood kind of like, yeah, we know it's an important comic, but they can never get any of that stuff right, you know?
Well, wasn't it Montgomery Flagg who showed you his portfolio at a convention? And you like set him on the right path. Was that you?
Wait! I thought Art learned anatomy from Michelangelo.
Because Art was like this. Aaron, Art was like this. He's like, you win it. You change.
That's right. And Flagg was like, that's a great idea.
Keep it up.
Yeah, well, Graham's not here, so I the old man.
Art actually held the paint for Michelangelo when he was painting the Sistine Chapel.
I was grinding.
He's like, all right, fine, I'll get it up there. I'm scared of heights, man.
No, because here's a real story because I've read the transcripts and the scrolls where if Art is the one that actually saved Michelangelo's career, because when Michelangelo was told that he was going to have to paint the entire Sistine Chapel on his back, he actually had 2 mirrors, and he was sitting there like this, painting it, Michelangelo, on his back. And Art's like, no, I think they mean the ceiling.
Right.
And he's like, okay.
I kept pointing out. He wasn't getting it. That's a good story, and that's all true. Yeah. Because Billy knows, man. He knows his history.
All right. In Art's younger days, he was able to actually pose for the statue of David. And the biggest
David or Michelangelo's David.
Michelangelo's, and the biggest realism is his little, you know.
Yes.
So
well, it was actually
Art's like it was cold that day.
My size was actually the size it was sculpted at. So in relationship to the figure, it wasn't correct, but to my anatomy, it was right. Because
you could have been the model for Donatello's David if you ever saw that.
That's right.
Was that Uga?
I was going to say, it's never the length, it's the girth.
That's right. Well, I've always said myself that, you know, I'm as round as a tree trunk, but I'm talking about a stump that's only about this thick off the ground. But I got the girth.
It's like a tuna can cock.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Exactly.
Look, how did we get on this? I was just about to drop that Art was the illustrator on the Dead Sea Scrolls, and then we go to this.
Oh, hey, Aaron. Aaron, join me tomorrow. Can we plug? Everybody join Mornings with Andy tomorrow morning. I go over my work at Penthouse Max, 8:35 Eastern Time, live. There's my plug.
Okay, well, everybody, we all have active. Well, I think except for Aaron, but Aaron's got a great YouTube channel. We all have.
What are we doing?
We're putting in our names where people can find us.
That's what we're doing.
I thought you were pointing to Billy. I was like, well, do you want to start with Billy?
No, if I may, tomorrow we are going to be launching our pre-launch page for our 464-page Omnibus Volume Number 1 hardcover omnibus, which launches next Wednesday the 30th.
Woo!
Sweet.
Okay, I've got Aaron Con this weekend, all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I have guests. I have Walter and Louise Simon's going to be joining me Saturday at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern time. I got David Williams wrapping the con up with me on Sunday evening, and probably have some more people coming in. There'll be original art sales, limited prints you can only get at the show, and huge announcements about my self-publishing venture, which is right around the corner. So that's going to get big announcement tomorrow as well, and throughout the weekend. So check out.
Finally, Aaron. Finally, we've been hounding you for months.
Damn it, man.
I'm not as fast as Art was in his heyday. I have to
not that anymore. Yeah. So how about you, Andy? Is First Man? How's that doing?
First Man's going good. I just got the final video for First Man Volume 2 from the guy today, and it looks fantastic. So that's going to be going up probably over the weekend on the sign-up page, because I still want to pimp that a little bit more. And there it is.
Nice.
So yeah, First Man is still in demand. So if you haven't gotten it, go get it.
And the thing is, with First Man, it's done. Like, they order it, you'll ship it, right?
Maybe it goes out next day. Books are in-house.
Sweet.
So they go out.
Hold those up again. Hold them up.
They go out next day. Oop, right here we go. 64-page graphic novel, 40-page program book. Good stuff. So they're ready to ship.
Okay, Fraga, boom. I know you still have Black Flag going strong.
Black Flag's in demand. Working on it. Going to be shipping it out to people in September. We're already working on the storyline for the Rascal miniseries by Shelby Robertson.
Nice.
And some other fun stuff in plans. But that's what's up with that. If you guys aren't already, follow Fraga Boom for Fraga June. We've got 3 more days. We go on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. where I draw something based off of people's suggestions to Pink Bunny Says So. If I pick your suggestion, I draw it on air. I send you the original in the mail. So tune in.
Was it last night? That
yeah, it was last night. You hung out with us last night. We did.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to get on those last 3, because I got a lot of work done. Because I don't know, everybody's working, so you're focused. Like, you're still cutting jokes and everything, but you're working. I got 2 pages of layouts done in that hour time. So
it feels like bullpen days.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like. It feels like
when's your last show? When's your last show?
The 30th, next Wednesday. So we've got. Please do, yeah, because we've got Friday, Monday, and Wednesday. Wednesday is the last one, and that's our longer episode. So definitely come in. You guys are all welcome.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll come in tomorrow and get some work done. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You gotta do it. And so I have Chrono Mechanics retrofit. It is done. It is ready to go out, like Andy's. Order it, goes out within a couple days, and it's going strong. I think it was late last week, we got a ton of orders. So thank you guys for still supporting the book.
Yes.
I know it's been in demand for a while, but you're still keeping it going. The sales are still good. So I do appreciate and thank you so very much. And also, Black and White Volume 2, the long-awaited Black and White Volume 2, Man vs. Machine. The pre-launch page is up. So come by, sign up. You'll get a free trading card. There's going to be exclusives. There's going to be there's going to be our early bird specials. There's going to be all kinds of cool stuff. So get in early, sign up, and it's going to be a major campaign. I can't wait for it. I'm 54 pages into the layouts. I'm drawing all the layouts. So the book is written. I'm drawing all the layouts, and so I'm 6 pages away from my 60-page completion. So I feel really, really strong about this. The story is great, you guys. You're not going to be disappointed. So thanks to everybody in the chat. Thank you for the super chats. You guys are the best. It was good to see you, Ethan. And thank you, Ethan. I'm always going to say it. I know it embarrasses you, but if I can publicly thank you, I will always publicly thank you. You are like...
Yeah, man, he's a big help to all of us. He's very unselfish, very, very selfless.
Oh yeah.
I've never met
humble, eloquent. He's awesome.
He's
trailblazing.
He's very helpful about people getting their creator-owned stuff out there.
That's right.
And he's the knowledge he drops is just like, it's so good.
Yeah, he's a modern day trailblazer.
I mean, that's the only way to say it. So, oh,
I always embarrass him, man, because I know he doesn't like it, but I don't care, man.
he dropped some good knowledge bombs, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks where thanks is due, and he's a kick-ass dude. The history books right now, people, it doesn't favor any of us, but you wait 4 or 5 years when it's all, the history books are, there's perspective on everything. This is going to be a major moment in time, I guarantee you. So thanks to everybody that supports us, and thanks to all my bro friends, my professional buds. And next week is where? Where are we going? Is it
Aaron?
Aaron?
Yeah,
it's a game show night.
Announcement, if I may. We are going, ladies and gentlemen, we are going back to trivia. And I bring the fun. We have these deep conversations on everybody else's show, but man, mine is irreverence fun, and the competitive spirit and the laughs that we had the last time we did this was movie trivia. It's going to be bigger this time. We're doing comic book trivia. It's going to be huge.
Oh shit!
Huge. It's going to be huge. So everybody has to be there. It's going to be a blast. I guarantee.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that my show is there a future for inkers and can they make a living? That's not fun. That wasn't fun.
That's deep. That's thoughtful and meaningful. I don't bring any of that.
No, Aaron brings the stupidness to the show.
That's right. The superficial entertainment value. That's where I'm at.
Damn.
Hey, I learned something. I learned a whole lot. In fact, it made me want to go watch more westerns and horror movies. So
well, maybe this
it's actually
comics.
The amen, brother.
I learned that I have like deep-seated memories that I had. I was pulling shit that I had no idea. Like, I think you didn't even finish. Like, Aaron didn't even finish one of the descriptions, and I went
Ghostbusters. I didn't even ask the question.
No, he didn't even ask the question, and you
he goes, I'll choose comedy, and I said okay, and he goes Ghostbusters, and I go, that is correct. They gave you an extra point for it because it was, clairvoyant or something. So.
I needed that extra point because I think it's the only thing that separated me from the last spot.
Nice.
Well, hey, Andy, as bad as Andy was, he did get Towering Inferno, which was
pretty impressive.
That was hard. Right. That was difficult.
Yeah, that was
Inferno, baby.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
I think I'm the week after that, and I can guarantee you it will not be Sarah Frazetta and the Legacy of Frank Frazetta.
Oh, man. What?
Guarantee it.
It could have been.
Billy's gonna
Graham's inside right now going, what the hell? I sign off, and now I watch it on my phone, and God damn it.
All right.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, chat, so much for joining us.
Everyone.
It's been amazing.
Aaron's show next week. So you guys all take care. Have a wonderful weekend, and see you soon.